Right, stand. I've asked Wade to open us up in prayer.
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day and the opportunity you give us again to gather together. Let us use wisdom and courage to do what we need to do. Help us all to make the right decisions. Do what's best for our community and our fellow man here. Be with us, give us wisdom and guidance. Go with us as we leave here and keep us safe. Help us always to do your will. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Pledge. Attention. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everybody. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2017-39, amending Resolution 2017-30 regarding holiday pay.
Y'all recall a couple of meetings ago, we had a discussion about, came to everyone's attention after the July 4th holidays, that there was actually an additional 8 hours holiday pay that had been being paid out that was in essence redundant because the personnel policy automatically awards paid holidays. So this resolution simply removes that extra 8 hours pay.
Make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adopt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, continued business. Further discussion concerning entering into a contract with Tony Renta for services concerning future expenditure strategy. I know all of you've had a chance to look at that proposal that he sent us.
I think it'd be a great deal. We talked about if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And I think this is our commitment to the citizens that we're going to try to do this right.
Right.
I agree. Excuse me. I think we need a plan for the money that will be coming in from the tax, and I make a motion that we hire Tony Renta.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Who has his contract?
I do. I have that. I'll give it to you.
Well, and to maybe clarify, we're paying him by the hour, so it's not a contract for X amount of dollars. It'll be just for the amount of work he does that we ask him to do for us, so it's
Right.
not a set
And
amount.
he will come and put together a committee that will, that'll be the folks that need to be on that committee to work towards putting this strategic plan together. So,
Had quite a few people want to know when we're going to start having meetings. There's a good bit of excitement in the community. So I would encourage the people of Fort Payne, if you're interested in moving us forward, get involved in this process. Come to these meetings, find out what the information is that you need, put your ideas on the table, because we want a consensus of the whole town here. We want
Right.
people to be involved, and it makes our decision a lot easier when we get a lot of public input. And I think we've got that coming, but we just need to make sure that everybody understands we want your input, because we're going to be a long way down the road making decisions about spending money. We've got to get some money in, we're going to get a plan, and then we're going to take care of this and do it the right way. So public input is going to be key to this.
yeah, definitely. Okay, new business. Authorize Matt Woods to conduct an appraisal on the building maintenance, building located at 103 3rd Street Northwest.
Tony is in the process of moving. If you have not completed it, you will be shortly. So this building, is the building that has been interest expressed in purchasing it for the city for an antique automobile showcase. First step in doing that is to get an appraisal on it and then declare it surplus.
And this building is being vacated because of moving into the new location at 50 Godfrey, is that correct? I make a motion to move forward with it.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
is appraisal and declared surplus.
Appraisal, yes, that's right.
Appraisal and declared surplus. Okay, authorize quotes for snow and ice removal for the Alabama Department of Transportation for the upcoming fiscal year. Public Works Director recommends the same rates as quoted last year.
Tim, in that letter that I got from Curtis Lowe, he also asked for a standby rate, and that has not been being in the letter in the past. Do you want to just keep the standby rate the same as the quoted rates?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be the same.
So everything will be the same as it was last year, so moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Moving right along, number 5, authorize Attorney Watson to begin preliminary work on changing the length of terms of members of the board of the Fort Payne Improvement Authority and allowing city council members to serve on this board.
I recall that was a discussion some time back. Rocky, I think, has actually done a little preliminary work on it, but we have 3 board appointments coming up this year on the Improvement Authority Board. I think Mr. Sugar's going to tender his resignation before our next council meeting, and we'll have our 2 regular appointments in December. So that just, y'all had expressed interest on changing the term from 3 years to a longer term, and this simply would do that, as well as the feasibility of having a councilman.
You have any update on that, Watson?
For this,
You have any update on that? Or?
Well, I just had some input from them, and it'll have to be done by, if I'm not mistaken, by statute. We've got some language, but we want to clarify some of it. So, and then it'll also set up a rotation of the terms. And I'd like to meet with Mike about it before we do it, Mike and Steve Busman about it before we do it. So.
Have you not consulted with Mike or Steve or the board about it?
Well, actually, the board came to us and requested these changes.
They did?
Yes, and Steve has sent to me a preliminary draft, and I've sent some comments back. So yeah, we're well down the line, but we haven't talked about it since Mike Shirey came on board.
A little history on it. It's a 5-person board and a 3-year term is staggered.
Yeah.
And it'll
There's 2
remain
of them
staggered.
coming up this year.
Right.
You have a 2, 2, and a 1.
Right.
And then you have to go all over again, and I think
And
what we kind of looked at was 5-year terms.
And I'm not sure that we don't need to contact TVA or maybe Mike or Steve, one already has. I'm not
Well,
sure.
that will be their, I mean, since they're the contact there, they'll have to get it authorized, but what we want to wind up with is you've got 5 members, and you appoint 1 member, either reappoint or roll one off every year, so
Every
that
year.
you've got
Yeah.
more continuity, and the fact that that particular board, there's a great deal of value in long-term experience and understanding the history of a board and what's gone on in the past, and because those terms are so short as compared to other terms that we have within the city, we wanted those to be long enough to create more stability on that board. So that's what we're looking at doing.
It's the shortest term board in the city.
That's correct.
I've served on that board for 3 terms, and it's a good board, but it's a very short term board.
Right, most are 5 or 6 years, so.
It's the only improvement authority in the state of Alabama that's set up that way.
Yes, the only one that's set up like that.
okay, I'll make the motion to authorize you.
Second.
They got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
This will simply allow Rocky to take whatever action is necessary.
Contact Senator Livingston, Representative Ledbetter.
Okay.
Motion approved. Okay, authorize Watson to begin preliminary work on drafting a request to state legislator to change the city's municipal election process to allow anyone whose vote tally exceeds 50% to be exempt from any runoff election.
This was an item that came up during y'all's last election. 4 of you got greater than 50%. And there had been some precedent several years ago. There was a gentleman that achieved more than 50% total, and he was allowed to not participate in the runoff election. So I think we all agreed that, especially since the time has increased between the general election and the runoff. It used to be 3 weeks, and now it's 6. And it's in August. I think everyone was in agreement if you achieve 50%, you should be allowed to be exempt from the runoff. So this just allows Rocky to do whatever needs to be done to investigate the change in the value. That'll have to be done to local ordinance, because it was originally set up a local ordinance.
I actually think probably that the way we've got it set up was a mistake that came about when we went from places to everybody running at large. There were some other changes made, and I'm not really sure that anybody intended to do away with the 50% rule. And we're going to be more in line with what's done statewide in these situations. And then, just as food for thought, I also would make a suggestion that we, if you've got 5 places and let's say 2 people get 50%, then instead of having everybody that's left in the runoff, you cut that down to 2 for each place. So you'd have a total of 6 in the runoff. So, but I'll let y'all take a look at that. Y'all have plenty of time to think that through, and we can make any changes you need to make before it goes to the legislature.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay. Authorize a $10,000 appropriation to the DeKalb County Economic Development Authority. The money was given to the city by DeKalb Cherokee Gas to be used in part for this purpose.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Number 8, discussion about utilizing a portion of the 3-cent gas tax fund for sidewalk repairs, maintenance, and construction.
Copy of the original ordinance is in your packet. It addresses when it was originally passed back in 1984. Section 11 outlines what the 3-cent gas tax, which is our local tax. The 3 cent is what Fort Payne actually collects. That section outlines what it can be used for. It does not specifically say sidewalks, but it goes all around sidewalks, streets, curbs, gutters, culverts, storm sewers, etc. So Rocky and I discussed it this morning, so if y'all are in agreement with making that change, we'll simply amend this ordinance, and I'll have it ready for you for the next council meeting.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, discussion about adding a carpenter to the building maintenance department budget.
Well, Buck and I have discussed this, and we're adding an additional person to that department anyway, so we're not going to be advertising for a carpenter. We really don't, I think you said you couldn't find one anyway, did you? And we're going to, in order to get a good carpenter, you're going to have to pay him. Most everybody's got plenty of work right now, so the carpenter's kind of hard to come by.
So we're
You
not-
got anything, Buck?
We're not going to add that carpenter.
Okay.
Okay, set date for a budget work session. I believe we did that September the 26th
26, okay.
on Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Okay, discussion about authorizing Watson to intervene in the suit against David Grote.
We touched on this briefly when we had our work session regarding Terrapin Hill sewer system. Rocky mentioned it, and we didn't take any action. Of course, you can't take any action in a work session. This simply allows him to be a, for lack of a better word, spy for the city.
Don't put that in
I've
the
got my
paper.
hat ready.
Where that turpin you
I
do.
know.
I think the city's got a vested interest in making sure that we can get this situation rectified, and I would Make the motion that we go ahead and
I'll
do that.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
I've had a bunch of folks that live in Terrapin and other subdivisions up there approach me, and I think that I assume that what y'all would want me to do is oppose any injunction closing that system down until some resolution can be worked out, and I think that those citizens of the city of Fort Payne would most certainly appreciate that.
Okay, Mayor, you have a report for us.
Met with, well, first of all, we got their grant application in for our lights in City Hall. Will probably be a month before we hear anything from it. I had a meeting with AlDOT along with John Cooper, who's the director of AlDOT, last week. We talked about several things. One thing is the Highway 35 project. It's definitely on go. We have not received a funding agreement yet, but it's just a matter of time. We will get. They have agreed to do the 35 and Airport Road intersection first and hold the roundabouts for the second and third year. So that looks good. Also talked with him, I think Johnny had asked about exit 218 and the landscaping and all that kind of stuff. John said, anybody said anything to us, if we was out there working, just tell them call him. He didn't care. I also talked with him about Siemens and Ferguson, and also our industrial site about trimming along the interstate. They will give us a permit. We can't cut anything over 4 inches in diameter, but we can trim up so high so you can see, everything. And the company that we were working with, or we are working with now, on an industrial project is the type that will definitely want their building shown. I mean, there's no question about that. So he gave us okay on that. The old hospital, we're in phase 2. They called Friday, and they're in the process of writing a report up, so we should be getting that real shortly. I talked to a grant writer, not really, it's a firm. Wade was talking about trying to get several grants, tied together and everything. Well, that's what this company does. And I met them at a brownfield conference. If we get that site classified as a brownfield site, then they can go to HUD, FEMA, and several others and tie these things together. And they do it just like any of our other grant writers do. They get a percentage for administering the grant. They don't get anything for writing it. There is also a grant that all these grants, we have to own the property before we can do anything with it. But there is one grant that's called a community-wide assessment grant that we do not have to own the property. But we have to identify 2 or 3 properties within the community that this money would go toward assessing. And I think it's a maximum $300,000 and no match. So I think it'd be foolish for us not to at least apply for it. That would be, their recommendation would be that would be the first step. And any monies that's not spent on doing the assessment can be spent on cleanup. So we're not to that point yet, but hopefully within at least the next couple of meetings, we need to make a decision as to which way we're going to go. And one of them, of course, Rocky would have to handle on securing the property and all that to go along with it. Retail Strategies is working on a couple of clients right now. Of course, Route 21 is closing. I don't know whether we got anybody that we can actually fill that spot with right now, but they are talking to some folks, so we'll see what happens in that regard. I have not heard anything from the MAPCO station yet. How long's it been? been over a month, and,
About 3 or 4 years.
well, it's been about 10 years since it started this mess.
Well, if you'll recall, they had sent an email, or at least they sent an email to me about the 15th of August saying they were going to try to have us figures by the end of August. And I'm going to email them back this afternoon and say August is in.
August is up. I also talked to Cooper about that as well. When we get that property, the state is willing to widen that turn and make that right turn down there. It's going to involve moving those utilities that are in the air. I don't know how much that's going to take, but that's a very disruptive intersection, especially with the trucks trying to turn north at that point. I think that about covers it.
Okay. Anybody in the audience got anything? Any of our department heads? I know they were not able to give you a chance in the work session, but anybody got anything? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'd just like to say thanks to the DeKalb Cherokee County Gas District for the $10,000 and for the appropriation for that amount. That will go a long ways to helping us. Thank you.
All right. We need a motion to go
Motion
into,
go on executive session.
we got a motion and a second? Yes?
Yes.
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 So we are in executive session. Appreciate everybody.